have a few favorite things that I actually built myself, along with the help of Tanner, of course. 4Runner that I want to show off to some of you that maybe weren't following along the whole time, or for some crazy reason you don't follow on Instagram. To start it off is the roll cage. This roll cage here was fabricated in-house with the help of our Rogue Fab bender and our Ultra Notcher. This piece here, this is all something that we had no roadmap to build this. It was kind of just figure out what are the, I guess, specifications for the different score racing classes that we're gonna wanna run in, build to that, and then from there back is kind of operated off of how can we best build the suspension. So these suspension mounts here are designed to carry not only a coilover, but a bypass as well. And that allows us to get different stages throughout the compression of the shock absorber to be able to give us as smooth of a landing as possible. Also, we're going to put a bump stop in the rear, so there's going to be a lot of different stages when we do compress this suspension that allow us to be able to do things in this 4Runner that factory 4Runners definitely can't do, and a lot of built straight axle trucks wouldn't be able to do. This is going to have a lot of suspension travel, and everything that we've done with the suspension is designed around that idea. We want as much travel as possible so we can jump as high as possible and have as smooth of a landing as possible so that we don't hurt or break anything. That's the goal. Will that actually happen? We'll see. But come around back, let me show you the fuel cell and what we did back here. So on the back of the 4Runner, one of the cool pieces that we built in-house was this fuel cell cage. So this holds the fuel cell in place. We haven't tied it in yet, but it will tie into the frame and it will hold the fuel cell in place regardless of what's happening with the body. Now there's a little extra space all around the cage, so if the body does shift a little bit, it's not gonna impact that cage or hit the fuel cell at any point. Inside of this fuel cell is one of the coolest things that I think we have in the truck, and that's the Fuel Lab QSST. When you're out running in the dunes, you're doing any sort of racing, or you're just out hanging out with your buddies, you don't want to deal with problems with your truck. And one of the most common things that happens with a setup like this, since it does take so much fuel and everything's drawing so much from the fuel pump, you can end up burning up a fuel pump, which you never want to do. Fuel Lab actually, who has fuel pumps in this truck right now, has a lifetime warranty. Doesn't do you a ton of good when you're out in a competition or you're out in the dunes. So they have to make it very easy to service. Now, traditionally, when you're dealing with something like this is a surge tank, and what this does is it fills up with fuel and it makes sure your engine doesn't ever starve of fuel, because it's constantly filling up this surge tank to make sure that there's enough fuel in it to keep the engine running at its top performance level. Since it is a surge tank and the fuel pumps live in there, traditionally you would have to take off this entire top plate, which is a ton of little bolts, little pieces, take this out to be able to access the cradle that those sit in. Now what Fuel Lab has done is they've made this way simpler, and with just a couple of bolts on the top, you can pull this canister out and you can replace your fuel pump without having to expose your entire fuel cell. So really cool, and definitely this is gonna be one of the biggest pieces that makes this truck easy to service should something go down while we're out on the trail. Now, if you haven't been following along, this is a 2JZ truck. Now, this is a 2JZ GTE out of a Supra, and this motor has been completely gone through. We did the bottom end as a forged bottom end. It has a brand new single turbo setup from Garrett. This is a motor that is gonna deliver a lot of power. And behind that, we wanted to make sure we had something that could handle that power, a Samsonis RS90 transmission. So what that means is this is gonna handle and shift a lot different than a standard manual transmission or an automatic transmission. What separates a sequential like the RS90 from a manual transmission is sequential transmissions don't need synchros. They have dog gears that have dog engagement. And what that means is you can pretty much just brute force the transmission through the gears. So you can be flat-footed on the throttle and you can be shifting through the gears, and it doesn't need the synchros to line everything up. It's built in a way so that you can just push through gears and you never have to lift off the throttle. So not only is this thing super strong, it's gonna handle a ton of abuse, and it's gonna shift faster and stronger than any manual transmission can. I can't think of a better thing to put behind a monster of a motor like this 2JZ than the Samsonis RS90. Now, aside from that, there's a lot of other little things in here, like this Rad Industries handbrake. This is a really cool piece. Utilizes 5-axis CNC to be able to get this thing looking how it does. If you look at the machine work, it's nice and rounded, ergonomic. I'm excited to get in here and actually be able to utilize some of this stuff very soon when it starts running. Some other things that we had to do to be able to fit up all of this stuff, I had to make some modifications to the transmission tunnel. Transmission tunnel had a bunch of brackets and bumps on it, so I cut that back, smoothed it out, and put a reinforcement plate to be able to hold this Samsonis shifter. Because there are no synchros and it does take some effort to be able to push this into gear, I had to make sure that this piece wouldn't flex at all. Other than that, the chassis inside, not a whole lot more reinforcement that we had to do. The 4Runner's built really well, so basically we just pulled everything out, made the holes where we need to make them, and then put the roll cage in. And the roll cage kind of holds everything together, especially how it's designed. This truck's not going anywhere, and should we go upside down, if all my welds hold up, we should be just fine. In order to be able to accommodate the Samsonis transmission, we had to figure out how to put a clutch pedal in the 4Runner. We did a video on this, but in case you haven't watched it, I'll do a quick recap for you. So in order to be able to put a clutch pedal in here, we had to find something that fit in the 4Runner, and we lucked out. The Tacoma clutch pedal actually bolts right up to the 4Runner firewall. Now it does take some modification. We did have to cut some things out. The stamping is in the firewall, so all we had to do was buy a Tacoma clutch pedal and then also the Tacoma brake pedal, because that positions the brake pedal appropriately for where the clutch pedal is, and everything else just fits perfectly. So for the safety equipment and stuff, we went with PRP. PRP is a well-known brand. This is the name in off-road safety. This is who you go to get your off-road seats. These are bucket seats. They're very safe. They're SFI, FIA rated seats. They are very, very safe. Also went with the PRP steering wheel. Now another neat piece of this truck is this has a custom steering shaft. This is something that we purchased that's a universal piece, but then we also custom fit it to the 4Runner steering rack. So this will operate seamlessly with the steering system that we have now, as well as any other steering systems we go with in the future. So tons of cool things in this truck, and there's a lot more to come. We'll be adding a full Link engine management system to this with the Link ECUs, the PDMs, and then also we're having a custom motorsport grade wiring harness put in this thing. So now to pair up with all of that Link engine management stuff, they actually have a switch panel, which us off-road guys, we're no stranger to switch panels. With the Link engine management system that we're putting in here, I'm going to be able to operate all of the standard stuff that you would expect, including these monster LP6s that I have up here. We'll be able to set all of those up to run off the Link PDMs as well as that switch panel. Speaking of these lights, let's talk about the lighting on this 4Runner for a minute. The lighting on this 4Runner is second to none. So for lighting on the truck, for the headlights, obviously we went with the AlphaRex. These are amazing lights. We have these on the other 4Runner L2 as well. These are the AlphaRex Lux. We run the AlphaRex Novas, actually the Nova 2s on the other 4Runner. Up top, we have Baja Designs. Now these are LP6s. If you see up there, I have 6 LP6s. It's a huge challenge to be able to draw that much power from a vehicle's electrical system. So to try to keep up with those big boys, we beefed up the electrical system in the 4Runner with one of Rad Industries alternators that puts out 160 amps. So the Baja Designs LP6s are insane. I've only had them on one other time. I'm excited to be able to turn them on and showcase how bright those things actually are. So the lighting is cool, but the coolest thing about this truck is the suspension in the front and in the rear. We went with Wicked Creations. Now Wicked Creations operates out of California. They do an amazing job building stuff not only for the 4Runners, but for the FJ Cruisers, Broncos. Also, I think they're doing some Chevy stuff now, which I don't know why they would do that. Toyota's the best, everybody knows. Wicked Creations did an amazing job putting together suspension packages for these trucks. Front of Lunar 1, I went with the Wicked Creations 5-over control arms. Now, why did I do that? Well, there's more travel. They extend out further. But one of the limitations that I ran into was using the Toyota factory coilover mounts. I wasn't able to get the same amount of travel as I could if I hacked those things out and put some shock hoops in. So we cut the top off of the factory mounts, put some shock hoops in, and we mounted Fox 10-inch coilovers. So these have a full 2 inches of shock travel. Now, 2 inches of shock travel doesn't necessarily translate into 2 inches of travel for the wheel. If you think about it, the shock mounts on the inboard side of the wheel, which gives a lot more travel on the outside. With the radius being 5 inches further out than factory and the shock travel being 2 inches more, we're gonna translate that into a lot more travel on the outside wheel. This 4Runner is gonna have a lot more travel than any of the other long travel kits like this. So this is definitely a unique build, and I'm really excited to get it out and test it to see how all the mounting points work and see if all the geometry that we put together here actually does what we expect it to do. If not, I'm afraid the 4Runner might go under the knife for a much larger front suspension conversion, but we're really hoping this thing delivers, and I think with Wicked Creations, we have the best shot at it. So just like in the front, we went with Wicked Creations in the rear. The lower control arms on these are 53 inches long. Now the factory control arms in the rear are about that long. So we went with 53, which is like that long. So there's a lot more travel, and there's definitely going to be a big difference between this and the stock setup. We also went with Fox coilovers as well. But in the rear of the 4Runner, it's 10 inches wider as well. So this whole 4Runner is 10 inches wider all the way around. For the rear axle, we did a Dana 60 limited slip. That's gonna allow both wheels to spin at the same time. This thing is big, it's strong, it's wide, and it's so much beefier than the factory Toyota rear end. All the way around this truck, we've touched everything, and we're not done yet. We have to get into the bodywork of the truck. For that, we're gonna be partnering with ADV Fiberglass. They make some really great front end fiberglass fenders. For the rear, well, that's gonna be something we're gonna have to work out in-house. Now that we've done a quick recap, let's get into the work today. We've got fittings, we've got an intercooler, we've got all kinds of stuff to start throwing on the 4Runner.
So Nate was telling me about the new game plan on what we're gonna do here in the next little bit of shop time that we have. You want to recap for the people what you told me just a few minutes ago?
Well, we've made some decisions collectively on the exhaust. So the exhaust on this, we have a couple of options. We could run it out the back, that's boring. We could run it out the side, but the frame's in the way. So really the only logical thing to do would be either run it up out of the hood, but this thing's in the way, So while Tanner goes and orders the intake parts, we're gonna build the exhaust to run right out the fender, and we're gonna drill in the side of the fender. We're gonna take a hole saw and we're gonna just put it right through these fenders. And we're gonna run the exhaust out, mock it up, make sure everything fits. That'll give us a nice template for when we cut up those ADV fenders. So, I mean, makes perfect sense to me.
Do you have a preference on the like cold roll versus fiber elbows that we were getting?
The fiber ones are much nicer. They weld nicer, and then they don't have lettering on them. So we probably clean these up and they'll look a little better, which we should do.
We can passivate these two, right?
I don't know what that means.
When in doubt, cut more out.
Well, I've got to run the wastegate behind.
Against it?
Yeah, we should probably put this there.
Probably hit it.
It's not on it. It's not touching it.
Oh.
It's just right next to it. Just a touch.
Which way?
That way to match this.
No.
No, it hits the turbo. You think ramp off this thing? Maybe a 5. Not the hood, straight up, dude. We're gonna tilt it. I'm building all this so that you think that it's going out the fender. And then I'm just gonna tilt it. It's gonna go straight out.
Sick? Little tractor stack?
Yep. Why are you looking at me like this? I don't understand. What did I do wrong? You know?
Oh, you didn't do anything.
What did I do wrong? Are you not enjoying our makeshift side exit exhaust?
I am thoroughly.
You're not. He's not enjoying it. Later, he's gonna be like, it was just, and then he's gonna tell me what he's actually thinking. But for now, he's not telling. He's not gonna tell me. He'll be like, it was just this, and then I'll know. For now, it's a secret.
Oh no, I'm not worried. I know that we're really close to finishing this truck. I'm real excited.
Yeah, we're about to have an exhaust and a wastegate dump out the fender. This is pretty.
If we just get the last little bit of our parts, we can finish plumbing this thing, and we're hands off. We're almost at the point where we kind of just and wait.
I mean, can this turn like, dude? Yeah, the wastegate can turn a little bit. It can turn ever so slightly. Because if we can turn it ever so slightly that way. All right, we wrapped up the exhaust and the wastegate. Well, mostly. We still need to run it out the side of the fender over here. So we got them all fabbed up. This isn't an actual fender that we're gonna be running on L1. We're gonna be running some ADV fiberglass wide body fenders. So I haven't put a hole in this. Next steps are to pull this fender off, run the exhaust out, and then mark up the fender that we're actually gonna run on this and cut that. And then obviously do some trim work, make sure it looks all nice. But we are making progress on this thing. Intercooler is installed, we have the mounts, everything is done there. This thing's ready to go. We just need a couple of lines, a wiring harness, and some link ECU parts, and this thing is going to be ripping. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe, turn the notifications on, because this build is going to be done very soon, and you're not gonna wanna miss the next couple of videos, because this thing is gonna fire up soon.